Welcome to POMCLOSET, guys. Today I'm going to show you how I knit these sexy pants. You will need the Addi Express King size machine. I have used it with many items, so you can check the other designs out. There are 46 packs of 46 needles altogether. Here's the yarn slot, the roll counter. Here's the rotator. You can rotate it backwards or forwards. The little red pegs on the side here, I always leave it down. You can use this machine to knit the round piece or the straight panel pieces. Move on to the yarn I'm using for this project. It's from Hobby, the Cotton King. The yarn number is 01, suitable for knitting and crochet. You will also need the 4mm crochet hook, the PF cutter, the yarn needle, some stitch markers and a tape measure. To start with, we will need to cast on from the first peg. Every peg or every stitch has the number indicated on the top. Here's the yarn slot, the roll counter, and we need to leave the yarn for around 5 inches and then start to cast on from the first peg by doing the zigzag front back like this all the way around for 46 stitches. On the last stitch, open the yarn slot, put the yarn back in and press it down. Make sure each stitch catch the yarn. I have the red pegged out like this, and then start knitting, doing the clockwise. Try to do it slowly on the first row or the first few rows. Make sure the yarn go under each stitch, so you don't want to drop any stitches. Keep on knitting like this for the total of 112 rows. Just before you reach the last stitch of 112 rows, I will need to cast off 2 stitches on this part here by transferring the last stitch, which is the number 46, onto number 45 by using the 4mm crochet hook. And then you need to rotating the rotator, and on the first stitch on the black peg here you need to put the stitch markers on, just in case you lost the stitch on this part here. I prefer to use a hair clip, and you need to transfer the stitch number 1 to number 2, but we will do on this side first. Transfer the stitch 46 onto the stitch number 45 on this side first. Then put the yarn back into the yarn slot. Then start to knit. Before you have reached the last 2 stitches, you need to transfer the yarn from the stitch number 1 onto the stitch number 2. It's quite tight on this part, so you need to try to pull the yarn a little bit by bit and then transfer the stitch onto the stitch next to it. Then knit to complete row 113. Once the last stitch completed, you need to rotating this back. Knit to complete the last stitch of row 114. So keep knitting these backwards forward until you get the total of 48 rows. At the end of row 48, on this split part, you will have the big loops like this, and we need to cast off by using the 4mm crochet hook. Get the yarn off the yarn slot and start to cast off by transfer the yarn from the last stitch, and then pull the yarn through, put the stitch markers on. Next stitch, you need to rotate the rotator and and transfer the yarn onto the crochet hook. You have the 2 loops and then pull the yarn through, then chain 1. Next stitch, transfer, pull the yarn through, chain 1. Keep rotating the rotator, transfer, pull the yarn through, chain 1, and repeat these all the way around. And on the last stitch here, you can see the loops is quite big, so I will put the crochet hook in between to get the 3 loops like this and pull the yarn through, chain 1. Get the machine away. Let's see what the works looks like. The measurement of these pants, the length is around 28 inches, the legs part only, and the split part is 12 inches. So the total is 40 inches when you measure down from the bottom part up to the waist part. The waist part, after you cast off, the length is around 18 inches. And I will continue working from the top part of the pants by chain 4. You need to skip 1, then do double crochet on the 6th stitch from the hook. After that, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, go to the next one, do the double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, do the double crochet on the next stitch, and repeat this all the way around to the last stitch. On the last stitch, I will chain 1, get rid of the stitch marker, cut off the yarn for weave in, and here is the completed row. So let's move on to the bottom part of the pants. Here is our first row that I have cast on. I have left 5 inches yarn. So just leave this end and try to find the other end on the other side and try to pull it. After that, cut off the yarn. Make sure you don't lose the end on your left hand side. Then reconnecting the yarn on the right hand side. There are many ways to reconnecting the yarn. I will leave the link in the description down below. Then start working on this bottom edge. I will pull the yarn through and then put the stitch markers on so we know where we have started. Move on to the next stitch and try to release the yarn on the left hand side. Pull the yarn through, chain 1. Next stitch, pull the yarn through, chain 1. Repeat this until you get to the last stitch. Here's the last stitch. Pull the yarn through, chain 1, and then you need to slip stitch on the first chain to join this row. The measurement of this bottom part of the pants is 9 inches, so that means it's 18 inches around. I'm going to add the mesh rows on this bottom part of the pants, the same as the waist part. On the last mesh here, chain 1, skip 1, and do the slip stitch on the third chain to join this row. I need to add a little bit of the edging by chain 3 and then do the double crochet in the same stitch. Skip 2 chains, go to the third one and do the slip stitch. Then chain 3, do the double crochet in the same stitch. Skip 2 chain, go to the third one and slip stitch. The rest you will need to repeat until you get to the last stitch. The last part here, slip stitch on the first chain at the beginning of the row, cut off the yarn for weave in. I forgot to mention, if you want to add the same edging at the waist part, you can also do it. You will need to weave all the ends in and do one more piece of these. I have done the 2 pieces of these, so now we need to connect these 2 together by putting the right side to the right side or the knit piece to the knit piece like this, and then I will start working from where the waist part is. Put lots of stitch markers on all the way around. Here you can fold the piece in half, and then you will find the center part of the pants, and then do the other side as well. After that, put the stitch markers on. So here you have one side. I will put more stitch markers on this part. Put more stitch markers on the other side as well. Now bring the yarn to connect. I will start from the top part of one side. After that, you need to put the yarn through, chain 1, and then do 2 single crochet on this mesh row. On the knit part, you can do the front, back piece together and put the yarn through. Front, back, put the yarn through, or the slip stitch. So keep repeating this until you get to the other side. Except the mesh row, you will need to do 2 single crochets. At the end, cut off the yarn for weave in. The piece so far would look something like this. So you can see I have the edging for both the waist part and the bottom part of the pants. They are exactly the same. So for the waist part, I need to use the strings, and the tutorials of how I do these, I will put it down on the description down below. The length of the strings is around 130 centimeters. I will insert the strings along the waistband part here by, you can choose any side of the pants. I will start from the second mesh, insert this string through, and then skip 3 mesh, go to the 4th one, keep going up and down like this, and skip 3, put the tassels down, and repeat these until you reach the other side of the pants. After you insert the strings, you can adjust it in the front part of the pants to fit your size. The knitted pants is now completed. It's actually very easy to make, but I have spent a few days to figure this out, how it works. I really hope you like the tutorial, guys. If there is any questions, please feel free to write down in the comment section. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. There are still many more designs to come. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.